Hey everyone! I'm back with another big book haul video. This one is for the books that I've bought for myself actually, after Christmas until now basically. So I had a couple fairly substantial book outlet orders, and so I'm just going to go through the books that I bought from them. Two-Way Street by Lauren Barnholt. This one I actually think I got for like 95 cents or something on Book Outlet. It is dirt cheap on there. And it's, I think it's like a YA, like older YA slash younger new adult maybe kind of read. It's about this high school couple who they had planned to go to the same college, right? And to drive cross country together for orientation. And then they break up before, I guess, the road trip begins. But it's too late to change plans, so they have to still travel cross country together, even though he apparently dumped her for a girl he met online. And so I think they have to kind of figure things out between them on this road trip. So it sounds like it could have some potential for some interesting relationship dynamics, maybe some humor. Deafening by Frances Itani. This is set on the eve of World War One, and it spans two continents. So I guess it's set in Canada, small town Ontario, and also in Europe, I think. And it's about this woman named Grania, who is a young deaf woman in Ontario, and she falls in love with Jim, who's a hearing man. And then he leaves to become a stretcher bearer on the Western Front. And I'm interested to see how the element of her being deaf and him being hearing plays into the relationship and everything that's going on in the storyline. The Furies by Natalie Haynes. This is about this woman who accepts a job teaching drama therapy at a school commonly referred to as the Unit. So it's this last chance learning community for teens who have been expelled from other schools. So what she does with one of her classes is she starts discussing the Greek tragedies with the students. And this helps her develop a rapport with them. But then the students take the tragedies to heart and begin interweaving their darker lessons into real life with terrible and irrevocable fury. So that is a really fascinating premise to me. The tagline on the cover is, "She taught them about revenge. They listened." So sounds kind of dark and twisted. We'll see what that's like. The Two of Us by Andy Jones. This is an adult contemporary novel about a relationship sort of after the falling in love part. So it's a sort of a year in the life of this relationship between Fisher and Ivy. And it says, Fisher and Ivy will discover that while falling in love is one thing, staying there is an entirely different story. I'm kind of interested to read a book about a relationship beyond just the falling in love part. A lot of books kind of stop right when they've declared their love for each other or whatever. Like, that's the story, is getting there. And it sounds like this one goes beyond that. Dr. Death by Laini Cabrabol. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. This one is about a woman who wants to become a pathologist, like her dad, but it is 1894. And so, women didn't do that back then, right? Like, it was considered scandalous for women to be involved in that sort of thing. And his nickname, her father's nickname, is Dr. Death. And then I guess this young girl is found dead, and she and her dad are left with a single mysterious clue, and then I guess she kind of gets involved in solving the mystery. Read Bottom Up by Neil Shaw and Skye Chatham. This is one of those epistolary novels where it's all told through emails and text messages. And I've read it already, and I wasn't thrilled with it. Like, it was okay, but it was pretty mediocre. I did like the ending, like the very, very end. I enjoyed that. But the rest of it, I wasn't thrilled with the two main characters. I didn't like them that much. Father of the Bride by Edward Streeter. Of course, this is the classic that the movie is based on. And I've read it already. I have to say, I prefer the movie. There's something about Steve Martin, that he makes it so funny, and there's a lot of very witty dialogue in the movie that must have come from the screenplay because it's not in the book. The book actually reads like the vibe is a lot different, and there is a sense of humor in here, but it's quite dry and subtle, and it's not super frequent in here. But I think it provides a very realistic look at one man's perspective of planning the wedding for his daughter, and how much work goes into it, and how much money goes into it. And even though it's, from 1950 something? 1948, I think, is when it was first published. So for a book that was written in 1948, it really still does give you a very good idea of just how expensive and time-consuming putting on a wedding can be. And often still is for people. So I thought it did a very good job at portraying that. Bellwether by Dennis Mahoney. This is a fantasy novel. The inside jacket says, a thrilling adventure set in a peculiar world, a fantastical 18th century in which a young woman must uncover the secrets of her past while confronting the present dangers of a magical wilderness. So it sounds like a real mishmash of genres. They say that it blends history and fantasy, mystery and adventure, and there's a map on the inside. My Name is Resolute by Nancy E. Turner. This is a chunky book. I don't even want to look at how many pages this is going to be. This is an adult historical novel, and it begins in 1729 when Resolute Talbot and her siblings are captured by pirates and taken from their family's plantation in Jamaica to the New World. And then she meets a young woodsman who's living a double life and is wanted in England. And it's supposed to be, I think, quite good. I haven't read These Is My Words, which I think is Nancy E. Turner's most well-known historical novel, quite possibly. But I think both this one and that one get very good reviews. So I'm kind of intimidated by the size, but I'm interested to check it out. Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. Already read this, of course. I love Austen, but I didn't have my own copy of Northanger Abbey, and this cover is quite nice, so I decided, yeah, I'll grab a copy because I'm basically collecting different editions of her books, so I thought I would add Northanger Abbey to my collection. Being Friends with Boys by Tara Elan McVoy. This is about this girl who she's been friends with these guys for quite a while, and she is used to it being quite drama-free, and then suddenly it isn't anymore, and a new guy enters the picture, and I think it sounds like she's kind of interested in him romantically, and then maybe one of her old friends decides that he is interested in her romantically. Anyway, it sounds like it gets full of lots of drama. The Jane Austen Project by Kathleen A. Flynn. I really like the sound of this one. There are a couple time travelers who go back in time to England 1815. They're from the future, and their mission is to meet, befriend, and steal from Jane Austen. And then they end up diagnosing Jane's fatal illness, I think, and obtaining an unpublished novel. And it just sounds like it could be very entertaining. So, Oblivion by Kelly Krieg. This is the third and I think final book in the Nevermore series. And you know what? I realized the other day that I already have a copy of this book. A hardcover copy. I haven't read it yet. I have to catch up on the series. I haven't read book 2 either. But now I have 2 hardcover copies, so I'm going to have to keep whichever one is in better shape and give the other one away. Donate it. Because I don't need 2 copies of this book. Charisma by Jean Ryan. This is a YA book. It's about this girl who's very shy, and then she's offered a dose of charisma, which is this underground gene therapy drug guaranteed to make you shine. So immediately she's charming, vivacious, and popular, but so are some of the other kids that she knows. So the media goes into a frenzy when this therapy turns contagious and then deadly. And the doctor who gave it to them disappears. The Story Spinner by Becky Wallace. I'm not a huge fan of the design of this book. Like, it looks like it's kind of indie, like self-published, indie published in terms of the book design, but apparently it's a Simon & Schuster book, so I don't know why they are using the fonts and stuff that they are. But anyway, it's a YA fantasy novel about this girl who wants to become a story spinner, and then her family is expelled from their performance troupe, and she is forced to work for Lord Raphael da Silva. And while she's working for him, she's exposed to a dangerous Game of Thrones, where she'll discover that the magically inclined keepers from her stories just might be real after all. And then all these girls who match the heir's description turning up dead all over the kingdom. Anyway, there sounds like there's a lot going on in this book. I don't totally understand it from the back cover, but that's okay. 3 Wishes by Liane Moriarty. I've read a few Liane Moriarty books. She writes adult contemporary reads, and my favorite is still the first one I read by her, What Alice Forgot. But I've also read Big Little Lies and The Husband's Secret. And this is, I think, this might be her first book or one of her first books, an earlier book of hers. It's about a set of 33-year-old triplets, and it's basically about just like their lives at that age, a year in their lives, and what they're going through. The Queen of Blood by Sarah Beth Durst. This is a fantasy novel. It's about this world in which there are all these spirits residing in everything, the willow tree, the stream, the wind, and they want to get rid of all the humans. And there's one woman standing in their way, and that's the queen. And she has the magical power to prevent the spirits from destroying the humans. And young women are specially chosen to train as the queen's heirs, because the queen's position is so precarious. So Delena is this academy student who wants to right the wrongs that have befallen the land. And then there's also the disgraced champion Ven, who's been exiled, I guess. And so they join forces and embark on a treacherous quest to find the source of the spirit's restlessness. Ghost Written by Isabel Wolf. This is an adult novel about a ghostwriter who starts work on the wartime memoirs of a survivor from Japanese internment camps in Java. And then when she does this, she's forced to examine her role in a tragedy that's haunted her since childhood. So it sounds like it sheds light on a really important, a sad but important piece of history. Amy Snow by Tracy Rees. This is set in the mid-1800s, 1831. And it's about this girl, Amy Snow, who is discovered by the young heiress Aurelia Venoy. And they grow up basically as close as sisters, pretty much. And then Aurelia dies young. But she's left Amy one last gift, a coded letter that hints of a secret Aurelia that never revealed. And so it starts Amy on a treasure hunt all over England. And that sounds like a lot of fun. The Promise of Stardust by Priscilla Sibley. It's about this couple, Matt and Elle, and what happens when Elle is in a tragic accident and she's left brain dead. And then just before Matt agrees to remove her from life support, the doctors discover that she's pregnant. And they've always wanted a baby, and I guess hadn't had one yet. And so it becomes a really impossible choice for him. So this sounds like it's heavy, like it's a heavy book about ethical issues and all that kind of thing. Compulsion by Martina Boone. This is a YA book. I think it's kind of like YA paranormal set in the South, like Southern Gothic style. And I haven't read too much Southern Gothic stuff, but I do find the concept of it, I feel like I might enjoy it, so we'll see what I think of this one. Beatrice and Benedick by Marina Fiorito. Much Ado About Nothing is my favorite Shakespearean play ever. And I particularly love, of course, the relationship between Beatrice and Benedick from that play. So, I mean, if you give me a retelling, I'm gonna go for it. There have been mixed reviews about this retelling, but I couldn't resist. Beatrice and Benedick. Lucid by Adrian Stoltz and Ron Bass. This is a YA novel about two girls, Sloane and Maggie, who each night dream that they're each other and live each other's lives. And then I guess at some point their lives converge. And then we've got The Book of Lost and Found by Lucy Foley. I think this is one of those dual timeline stories, kind of like Kate Morton style. I think you've got a story going on more in the present day, I think, and then one set in the 20s and 30s. And I'm a sucker for Kate Morton read-alikes. If I can't have a Kate Morton book, I'll gladly pick up one that has a similar sort of feel. And so I'm going to give this one a shot. Alright, and that is everything for this book haul video. Let me know what you think of these books, which ones you've read, which ones you'd like to read, and I hope you're reading some terrific books right now. Bye!